I think we're going to get started here. Welcome to our panel for Godzilla vs. KingGhidorah, the 25th anniversary. Can you believe it? Oh, man, I can't believe it! My name is Nick Adampola. I am the host of the Monster Report. Find me on YouTube. You'll actually find a few interviews with this guy over here, Mr. Robert Scott Field. Have a nice day. What's so cool about being here, sitting up here with M11 is he's been able to share so many stories from this. Some of you probably heard in the past some of Scott's stories of behind the scenes. Some of that's probably going to be repeat, but we've got some new material here for you today, and we're just really excited to have you. Yeah. So kind of tell us, Scott. I know you got a presentation you're kind of setting up as we go, but how does it feel 25 years later after the film is done?
Yeah, I thought it was only a couple years since we moved.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, it's been 25 years according to that. I've been here the GFestXXIII times now. 3 days. This is my fourth session today plus the awards, and I did 8 yesterday and I did 3 the first day. So I think I talked more than everybody else here. So, which is fine. This year my voice is here. 2 years ago. I had to go to Russia to buy sand to make concrete to build homes in the tsunami area. So I went to Russia, very sandy there, a lot of dust. Went to China, and they're having a lot of problems with smog there. And then I came directly from there to here. And they were doing construction on the hotel, and I pushed the button my air conditioner, and all this dust came out of that. So I got hit with 2 countries and 1 air conditioner, and my voice disappeared. And a couple of guys were very kind. They came up and said, "Well, we'll translate your place." I go, "No, you're not going to." And that was but I was talking like this the whole time, so everybody was here for a while, but it was pretty cool.
Well, that was 2 years ago. That was
2 years ago.
Because I remember you were here translating for Kalakita, and a lot of people, and then the one thing you needed was a voice. And it was the first time I had the chance to meet him. I wanted to have an interview with him, and he says, "All right." And I said, "Okay, I'm not going to be that guy who says, okay, well, you told me you were going to be in an interview." So a couple of weeks later, we had the chance to sit down over Skype with Tim Price and talk a little M11 and talk some big Japan. So, but as far as KingGhidorah goes, what can we kind of say about some of the backstory with it? Anything you wanted to share first off? I know you got your presentation coming up here. Anyone can read that up there. You are better than me.
I can read it.
Okay. From the top.
All right, we're still there. It's been 25 years, and I would never figured that I'd still be talking in front of all you people, but now. At the time, I just got done playing baseball. I played for 3A for the Angels for a year, and then the Japanese team scouted me out. They were called the Nankai Hawks, then now they're called the SoftBank Hawks. And I played a year of baseball there. As a kid, growing up, I lived in Southern California, and my father sold eggs to Disneyland, to Magic Mountain, to Las Vegas, all the hotel casinos in Las Vegas, and so I got to see all these places. I've been to probably Disneyland more than anybody else in the world. Because my father was selling eggs, so I got to go every other weekend. And so I, as a kid, maybe 52 weeks in a year, and I went every other week, and for 15, 20 years. That's a lot of times.
Must have been awful.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
But anyway, going to Disneyland, you saw a lot of Asian people there, and you wouldn't know where they were from until they come out and said, "We want to take a picture with you." When I was a kid, I was very cute. I was very cute when I was a kid. You're supposed to say you're cute now, but that is
fishing.
Yeah, I'm fishing, yeah. But anyway, so as a kid, you see all these Asians come up, they come up, they take pictures with it, and one day one of them says, "I'm from Japan." So that clicked as a child that I got to meet a Japanese person who was 11, 12 years old the first time. And we had our teacher in junior high school said, "We're going to talk to create pen for pals of around the world. And so she pulled out this box and all these names in it from kids in about 15, 20 countries. And I put my hand and took it out. It was a boy from Tokyo. And we went around and they still had a few left, so I said, well, anybody else want another pen pal? And so I said, okay, I'll do it again. I took it in. It was a girl from Eastern Osaka. And after asking the teacher, there were only 2 Japanese kids in the whole box, and I got both of them. So it's kind of saying that someday you're going to go to Japan, and that's how it happened. So I started there, and I guess I was in a kind of a mood mode, or mind mode that I was going to take me to Japan one day, and that's what happened. And the scout scouted me out to Japan the first time as a baseball player. Baseball was over. I started working at a Chinese restaurant to learn Japanese because I hated having translators in between. I thought if I got involved in talking to these Japanese people, something would happen. I learned how to cook Chinese food, and I speak Japanese really well now. And I could become some of this excellent wife one day because I'm a great cook. So
He's an all-around. He does a little bit of everything: motivational speaking, translation, an actor. He also do some physical therapy or not.
I'm a trainer. Yeah. I'm one of those guys that's kind of dangerous. I'm an ex-jock with a brain. I have a PhD in exercise and sport science and sports psychology. So I teach at the college level. I've been nominated to the Olympic committee for 2020 when it's coming back to Japan. So I'll be working with the synchronized swimmers and some judo wrestlers, judo players. What do you think? Judoers. Yeah, whatever. But a lot of them have already have gold medals and silver medals, and it'll be fun. And so a lot of that's going on right now. During the movie, let's come back a little bit for a minute.
The restaurant, after baseball, after the restaurant.
While I was working at the restaurant, I made a famous Japanese comedian who came in to eat there a lot. He introduced me to a radio program, and I'll show it here a little bit later. And that connected me to Omori, and that connected me to Godzilla, and a couple of TV programs and stuff like that. But it was interesting how everything just kind of connects. And now, seeing this last weekend with Sagai, Mr. Sagai, and even Takarada, and all of them being in Bin and Sakurai-san too, they always just seem to connect one way or another, not just because they're in the movies, but something connected them, and now it's even connecting them now. And then, was it 2 years ago, a year and a half or 2 years ago, they found Linda Miller. I think she was doing real estate or something. And a guy was actually comes to the GFestXXIII lot and found her. He was, and she sent a letter saying that it was her and that she was happy that everybody remembered her, and sent the letter to me. I translated the Japanese for a big group of people in Kyoto, and that's where this whole thing started. That's why she's now coming to conventions. So it's pretty cool. So it all connects. But anyway, let me just throw out through pictures here real quick. Time shift. This is when I was 1 year old. How cute. Okay. I was 1 year old and I had a better beard than I have now. No, let's go on. Anyway, time warp engaging now. You know the iconic picture there, like the Terminator. A lot of times people have said that we copied the Terminator, also Men in Black. If you see the movie I was in with the Ultraman Neos, I was actually the original Men in Black. Men in Black came out the same year as we did, so there's no way you could copy it. And I was actually there before they were, so I've got one up on them, and the Terminator as well. On the right side, you see the 2 heads, and you see the bottom picture. That's actually the day after we finished shooting. And the girl in the far right corner, she was the assistant on a radio program that Omori and we did together. And she has one scene in the movie where she's a newscaster. And if you watch the movie, then you'll see her on the very right. On the very right bottom, that's Megumi Odaka, who was Miki Sayusa. And we're trying to get her to come back to GFest. She was here in 2000, I think. She had some health issues. She is getting better. She's starting to go back into stage acting, and hopefully in the next couple of years we'll bring her back. And so you see the head, the Toho is really great with props and stuff, and they were probably going to chuck it, so I just commented, well, that's a nice head, can I have it? And they gave it to me, so it's in my house, and I walk home and forget sometimes, and he looks just like me, so I kind of but I never get lonely, because I talk to myself all the time.
It says that mix up there, it's like which Scott is Scott.
Yeah, but it's really well done. I may have told this story in the past, but a lot of you have not heard this before. When they were making that, they put this, it's like the walls, the stuff they make out of walls, they put it on your face, and they stuck 2 straws in my nose, and they said, you can't breathe out of your mouth, breathe out of your nose. And then we'll be back in 15 or 20 minutes. And so as you're sitting there waiting, your eyes are shut, you got this stuff on your face, you can't breathe out of your mouth, nose is working, straws are in the nose, it's okay. All of a sudden it starts to harden. One of your nostrils starts to close up. And you're saying, okay, I still got one nostril, and then the straw falls out of one. So you're sitting going, uh-oh, nobody's here, I can't say anything or I break the mold, I can't tongue out of my mouth, I'm trying to tongue out of my ears. That isn't working, and so you can think, man, the movie hasn't even started yet, but we're gonna die. But they finally pulled it off, and it was you know, a perfect fit for my face, and so they put it together. But that was probably the scariest experience of the whole thing.
You didn't have any claustrophobia problems after that, did you?
No.
It doesn't get much worse than
that. That was pretty bad, but it was a great experience. The only other thing that will probably come over in a minute is the running scene. You can see the upper picture. That's after the fact that I stopped the Jeep and I pick it up. But they, in the scene where they have to blow up, when I'm in the car chasing them, it flips over and blows up. You can only blow up a car once. It's interesting. You only blow it up once, the same way. And so they had a stuntman. They're actually going to have me do the stunt. They said, yeah, right, that's going to happen. I wanted to actually, but they couldn't do it. But they had a stuntman come in, and I came out of the car on fire. They had pulled out the seat so that I could just pop out of the jacket, and after you've heard the story, go and look at it again. I'm supposed to be able to go just like this. It's supposed to rip right off my body. You'll notice that it's not coming off my body. And this arm is on fire, and it's getting hot. They're trying to keep me from burning. And all of a sudden, oh, well, and he said, well, the car's burning up. We have to make 5 shots in one scene, 5 shots. We have 3 cameras on me. And we can only do this once, so there's no AT. We gotta do this perfect. So I knew that was going to happen. And so I'm sitting there thinking, man, it's getting really hot, but I gotta look like an android, I can't do anything. Look, ow, can't do that. And so I ended up taking the jacket off like this. And I took it off, I turned sideways so they could get a shot of the burned parts, when the other side of my arm, all the hair was burned off on this side. And so it was hot, but I managed to get through it. Then I chased after the Jeep, but I beat the crap out of the Jeep because I was angry because I was burned.
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing is you're trying to stay in character that whole time, keeping just the straight face. You know, you can't react to that. You know, when you think of yourself as the android, if anything, you probably got you got to feel menacing almost because you know you're programmed to do that. You're going after that Jeep.
That's right. They had programmed me that in one scene you had to do this or it'd be an international incident. I had to make sure that I did it correct, so I did. But it's funny how they get you to practice. They have you practice a few times, and when you get to the real thing, it doesn't turn out the way you practice.
Right.
So it's kind of funny.
Was it your idea to do that little look when you run past them?
Yeah.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Basically, if you've ever seen the movie Lost in Translation, my Japanese was fairly good at that time, but the directors on the special effects, Kawakita and other ones would just say, do this. Okay? That's all they left me with, and so they're trying to, or they talk to me for 5 minutes, very long, and I have to come up with a small, answer of what they want me to do. And so he says, we're going to pull you on the side of the car, we're going to pull you along, and we want you to do something really cool. Okay, what's really cool? And so I decided I'm going to be cocky, is what I was thinking. So I smile a little bit, cocky smile, and I did the same thing when I stopped the Jeep and I picked it up, and I looked at her and like, I got you, and I look at him like I'm going to rip his head off or something. So that was the idea behind it. Let's go on to another picture. Here's Nakagawa Anna Nakagawa, and this is Toyonaga Kosuke, and this is the scene where I say, go ahead, and he says, make my day. We wanted to, that was actually ad-lib, and if it was one of us, it'd be Clint Eastwood. If it was 2 of us, it was okay. So we did that, but Omori liked that. He loves American movies, and so we did that, and that's when we blew up the supercomputer that we were trying to take over Japan with. This is my movie here. This is actually on the number 8 studio at Toho. We're getting ready to take a shoot there. Mr. Sasaki, who is the professor, what's his name of the movie? I forgot. The guy with the glasses.
Yeah, from.
Anyway, he's in the movie. The guy with the glasses. The 4 of us would always talk often. He was a kind of a newbie at this, and I was a newbie too. But I like to talk to everybody, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, the 4 of us would always talk together pretty much. And Toyohara, this guy here. He's a big star now. At the time, he was I think he had one debut, a small part in another movie, and then this was his big chance here. And so, if you saw just in the session before the awards, when Mr. Ishii got up to talk in front of Sakurai and say, well, congratulations on the Maple Skyscraper Award, because he was starting to sweat. If you understand the ladder system in Japan, anybody who came ahead of you is considered a senior, and whether they're good or bad or whatever they do, they're always your senior, and so you have to look up to them. And so he said that he had seen them as a child watching, so you're looking at your heroes, and he's also in the same industry, and so there's always the bowing that you have to do to these famous people, and so you can see him start to sweat. And so it was the same thing for him. He's now a superstar, but when you had all these famous guys, there's a lot of guys who were in this movie who were in the original Ultraman movies and other Godzilla movies, etc. And so he would not come over to talk to a lot of us because he was a newbie. He just didn't feel like talking to everybody, so we really don't know what he was all about. But now he's a famous star, and he's hanging out with a famous singer right now, and there's a big thing in one of the magazines about him. And this is on probably a year before she passed away. Still looks really good. She was doing a lot of stage acting and stuff. And so every so often when she'd come to Osaka, we could go to Tokyo, we go have tea together or something. And so she died of uterine cancer, but she didn't tell anybody until the very end. It was a month before the 60th anniversary of Godzilla in Japan. So she was supposed to be in the anniversary with us. She passed away a month before that happened. And so it's a sad thing. She's only 49 years old. And she won an Academy Award for being the best new actress when she first debuted. And so she lived a good life. It was only 49 years, but she did live a good life. And we were very good friends until the end. This is Ishii in the back. This is in 2006 when they came to GFest. Omori, he is now a college professor. He does make commercials. He does something. He's not doing many movies these days. But did you see my little 3-minute JJ, the Jet Jaguar and M11 fight? That 3-minute movie was made by the students that Omori and Kawakita have been teaching for the last 4 years. And so he's now a professor at a little specialist schools that teach movies, analog stuff and like that. And so, and Mr. Ishii was now into Ultraman as well, so look up to these guys for a long time. So real quick, there's Mr. Kawakita himself. That's actually the right picture is them actually at the college. They've got Godzilla there, they've got students around, and other people, they're showing them how to work analog and not just CG. And that is Kawakita has that's not an original. He always told us it was an original oxygen destroyer. It's a replica that he made, and he told everybody. That's now in the Godzilla Hotel. There's, on the 30th floor, there's a Godzilla room. There's only one room. It's a $600 a night room. And 2 people could sleep there. I guess you could get 4 in it if you wanted to, but it's if you want to pop up the $600, it's pretty much worth it because you push a button and on the monitor comes up a newscaster who says Godzilla's in the area. They flip to a helicopter and all of a sudden you see smoke flying, things start, and all of a sudden your bed starts shaking. So it's pretty cool. And so this oxygen destroyer and a real Godzilla suit is in the room. And so the whole floor is the city, and so you're actually like Godzilla stomping on the city, and so it's pretty cool. And in the bathroom, in the bathtub, right in front of the bathtub, it's Godzilla versus KingGhidorah. Mecha KingGhidorah is right there, so you get to take a bath with M11. So there you go. All right, that's the Godzilla Hotel on the right side. That's the 8th level where the Godzilla head is, and then it goes up 30 floors above that. So. It's pretty cool. If you get a chance to go to Tokyo, you can definitely go see that. It's pretty cool.
And it wasn't Kawakita very...
Kawakita is his last project he did before he passed away. He helped put the head together. So he's still with us even now. And so on the left side is the last shot that we took on location. And I don't know why I'm not in the picture. I must have been somewhere. I don't know, but this was one of the last shots on location when they took the final shot. Most of the actors are there at the front, and we just, as they said, as you start to gel as a group, you get kind of sad when it's all over. So we really got along really well. I spoke enough Japanese at the time that I was cracking jokes already. We were having a good time with it, so it was good. This is my head. How did it come to be? I'll just go really quickly. When the world was young, Pangea, have you ever heard of the one country, the one continent that was on the fat planet?
We're going way back.
Yeah, so we're going way back. It was one continent that became 7 continents. This is what it looks like now. I did a radio program called the Pangea Club. And, the world to us is, okay, there it is. And you can see a very young Omori here down the left. Again, the assistant, the girl that was in one part in the Godzilla movie, and me on the left side. Up above, the other picture in the very middle, that's Sanada Hiroyuki Sanada, who is the guy that beat the snot out of Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai. And so he's a famous actor, and we had a lot of famous people on this program. What the program did is for 2.5 years, we would call people all over the world and talk to people live. And so in the Gulf War, we were talking to people in Israel, in Iraq, we were talking to people all over, who were just very kind, nice people who happened to be in the middle of wartime. And so we're in the middle of the live, and then one guy says, "Hey, hang on a second," and a Scud missile flies over, blows up right nearby where he was and stuff, so it's pretty crazy. Anyway, this is where I met Mr. Omori, and this is where it all got started. And he realized that my Japanese ability was good, and he was trying to find some good foreigners to be in a movie. And he says, the first thing he asked me was, "Can you run?" I said, "Can I run? You haven't seen my movie, we haven't made the movie yet." So at that time, but anyway, this is a lot of things I'm doing now, but we'll talk about that later. That's enough. Let's go. All right. Done. So, back to it. A lot of things that was going on. I was living in Osaka at the time, but they filmed most of the thing in Tokyo, and so I was, instead of riding the bullet train every day, they got me a place in Tokyo. I actually found a friend. They're going to give me a little bit of money to rent a place. And if you know anything about Tokyo, it's very expensive to rent. I was looking at one room that was costing about $1,500 a month just for one room. And so I found I made a friend. I said, "Can I stay in a place for a couple months? I'll give you a couple $100." "Oh, okay." So they worked out, they gave me the money and actually made money, which was good. And so I spent a month at a time. I was doing this radio program. I just said, when we do it over the lights, because Omori was the same. So when we had a schedule for filming, we would get together in a house or even at Toho, and we would talk over the phone lines, because there was no internet really at that time. We talked over the phone lines for the radio program, and then we film and then do this kind of stuff. And so it was good, but instead of going back and forth from Osaka, I would stay in Tokyo and do it there.
And this is around what time again? This is
1991.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's the end of 1991 is when the program was going on, and also when we started. So it was actually, we got the movie done very quickly. So it moved along very fast.
I saw you in the running ability was one of the things
I just got done playing baseball, so if you look at me now, I'm bigger chest-wise now than I was then. I was bigger at the hips because I was playing baseball, so I had a big butt and big legs because I'm a pitcher. And so I swung a lot, so I was very good at running, and now I'm really just like, okay. But yeah, so I think they saw that. Most of the foreigners that were in the movie, for example, Chuck Wilson, he was actually a judo wrestler. He came to Japan. He's what they call a talent, which is a foreign celebrity in Japan. He was, they wanted to use people who had some clout, I guess, in that arena. I was actually one of the ones who was not well known. I was just on this radio program. The guy who they did, Joey did a skit yesterday with Kent. Anyway, the two guys that did Major Spielberg, the two military guys, yeah, the two of them, one of them is a lawyer and he's still in Japan, the other one is a professional translator. So neither one of them are actors, but they were also these talents who speak really good Japanese, would be on game shows. Once the lawyer is on a game show, he wasn't very funny, but he had a lot of knowledge, and so he went on these game shows. He said that he won 13 trips around the world tickets, and never used one of them. He was just too busy, but they're still in Japan, they're doing their thing. Megumi again is, she's starting back into play acting, and she's hopefully get healthy enough to come back to the GFest one of these days. Omori is making commercials and stuff. Toyota is now a famous guy. Sasaki, if you know anything about him, the professor, his father is actually one of the original Seven Samurai. He was a movie star as well. I've talked to him many times. He's actually one of the two that Lucas got the idea for R2D2 and C3PO. So that came from the Seven Samurai, and so his father was one of them. So we've talked in depth about the Seven Samurai. So I've got Seven Samurai and Godzilla that I'm going to talk to people who actually know the deal with it. And so Mr. Kurosawa, the famous director, also will go to his house a lot of times, and I'm going to talk to him about Kurosawa as well. So it's a lot of live information, not just books, but this great stuff you can hear.
And of course, Mickey's character, Odaka, who plays her, one of the very few characters that has recurring role in several films. Of course, the Heisei series from Biomantic Destroy, she plays the same character. Very rarely do we ever get that, continuous character, and definitely not in as many films as she was in. And I remember seeing her character go through such a change as, from Biomantic, starting as the psychic kind of student, and then, age progress, and then they go, they start trailing out towards Destroya, and she's always involved in every aspect, of course, of Godzilla and everything that has to do with him. So it'd be really great to get her back to GFest.
Yeah, she's. I think more than anybody else, she was in more movies as an actress, Godzilla movies, and she was a Toho princess. She was one of the new faces that they had at the time, and she was very popular at the time. She's since quit Toho, and so anything she does from now on will be directly, free agent type of thing, and which makes it easier for her to come back to GFest actually. So we hope to get her there.
Absolutely. Now, if we talk about a little M11 at the beginning when they talked to you about this character, was it at all anything like what the character ended up being in the final film?
At the beginning, one morning, and then when they found out I could run, I was in shape at the time. They thought, we can put him in the movie. They said, you have about a week of your time. A week, and so it was apparently a very small part at the beginning. And when they were writing the storyboards, it was just a very small scene of this guy coming from this 23rd century android bringing a message or bringing something from the 23rd century to hand somebody. And I don't know even the whole story, but I saw the storyboard. It was very short. But as it progressed, it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I ended up spending a couple of months instead of 1 week on it, and it became what it is, M11. I've asked Omori since, and I asked him at the time what M11 meant. And if you think of, was it something Stitch? Was Lilo and Stitch, where he's number whatever, there's all these mistakes he got up to there. What happened to the other 10 MPs?
Yeah.
It's like, well, they're working these. And so what is the MP? Machine is just, I don't really remember. That's what I said. So I'm going to make something up. It's probably Machine 11, the other 10 or somewhere. Hopefully we'll write a story someday about that. But and so he got bigger, the part got bigger. One thing that was really cool after we made the movie, no one knew who I was in Tokyo, and so they would show them, we would do our ingredients on the stage before the movie, and then they saw it, and afterwards, I got a big long line of people wanting my autograph, and then one time they showed the movie to them first, and then we came out, I got this really big applaud, which was really cool, and so you got all these famous people here, these stars are in the show, but M11, it was really cool. And so, you're not supposed to outshine your other stars, but I stick out in Japan anyway, might as well. So it was, led to a lot of other things.
I was going to say about the character, it's not just, I'm going to have you running around, I'm going to have you doing some robotic stuff, but, they gave you a speaking role. But unfortunately for us who have heard it in English, we're not hearing Robert Scott Field's voice in there, because I remember hearing him the first time, and I was thinking, I am, and I'm thinking, Tom. It doesn't sound at all like that. I don't sound like this guy.
They, for some reason, I was in Japan and they could have used me, but after the movie had done so well, this is what I've heard, they thought that I'd be too expensive to dub my own voice. And that was the first thing. The other thing is they sent everything to Hong Kong and just had anybody do it. And so, so I don't know what accent it is, but it's not.
Yeah, it's a British guy in the hotel that they said, you can speak English.
Yeah, that was it. Most of the time, when things like that, when I was originally speaking, I speak some English and some Japanese in the movie, and enough Japanese so they would understand, enough Japanese English so they understand. So time warp engaging now is easy for them to understand. And so instead of saying time warp engaging, I say time warp engaging now. A little bit like Japanese, closer to Japanese so they would understand. but I had a lot of Japanese speaking parts as well.
And of course, as you know, we're watching the film. I remember this is in a lot of ways one of the fan favorites because it's just got a little bit of everything. Time travel. We've got the origin of Godzilla. We've got Mecha KingGhidorah. We've got just so much that's thrown into one film all together. And so it's got a little bit of something for everyone. And of course, if you get a chance to check out my review on there, just remember, I love the film. I have a lot of fun with it because there's a lot that you can pull a lot of comedy out of that film because it's just got so much content to it. And I love Scott, but when you watch the film, you might not think that. Okay, but watch the review of that. As far as before we get to some time for maybe some question and answer, because I know that some people out here might like to ask a few questions. Kind of tell me a little about Kawakita and Nakagawa. We've lost them, and the legacy that they've left behind. Of course, we talked a little about the hotel. Just maybe a few stories that you have personally with them, interactions that you have, so we can maybe get to know them a little bit.
Okay. Many of you have met Mr. Kawakita a couple of years ago, and maybe even in 2000 when he came before. He's when it comes to what he does for a living, he's very strict. And he loves what he does. He loves Godzilla. He loves the whole kaiju genre. When it comes to his understudies, the people who study under him, even the students in his school, he's very strict. And they always say scary is the first word that comes to mind, because he's very strict about everything he does. But on the other hand, he's one of the biggest idea men that are in the whole industry that work. I think Eiji Tsuburaya was probably the first, and then they had Nakano was great with explosions and stuff like that, but I think Kawakita was the whole ball of the roundness of trying to do all kinds of things in the genre and making the difference for the next generation. We spent 9 hours together. The 60th anniversary of Godzilla. We had 3 movies during the middle of the night, so we had to wait until one movie is over to do our thing, and then another movie, etc. We spent 9 hours together talking about 60 years of kaiju in 9 hours. And he just told me he was a little tired. They had been not drinking, he just had 1 beer, but it was enough to open him up. I was trying to get him to drink a little more so he would open up more. But it just happened to be the two of us, and it just kind of like, I've loved this my whole life. I love kaiju. It's been part of my life for all these years, even as a kid and stuff like that. To do this, and he was very worried about the next generation. And I think before he passed away, I think that he knew that the 2014 movie was going to happen. And he was in the project of making the Godzilla Hotel, etc. And so he was worried that the new ideas were not going to come out, that Toho was going to sit on its laurels and just suck in the money that was coming out of Hollywood and not do much. And he may be right, because they made a new movie, and we'll see what happens with Shin Godzilla. I hope it's a very good movie. But going to Toho just recently, it's more like a real estate company. It's a rental studio. Now they rent out their studios, which is cool. It makes money, but it's kind of like you've got Godzilla. They've got Godzilla on this big wall here before you get into the studio here. They've got the 7 Samurai, which is huge, 3-4 story tall murals of these 2 huge things that made Toho. And most of the people that work there know what it is, but know nothing about it. Because I've asked them a number of questions when I was there. Do you know anything about Godzilla? And a lot of them hadn't even seen the movie. Who worked at Toho? And I said, look, it's the next generation has to know about these things, why this company was great, why these things happened. And so I think he was worried about that, and so he kind of pointed at me and handed the torch to me. And I was very excited about this weekend for 2 reasons. I came up with this little Polaris figure that I came up with, hand-made, hand-painted, made in Japan, not anywhere else. And so it originated from Japan, and it's the start of something new. And hopefully it'll turn into a manga, and then it'll turn into a movie, possibly, or a graphic novel or something like that. And then see Mr. Sanai, and then thinking about making all these different types of kaiju, and so there are new ideas that are coming to fruition. Chief Beach is a book big in Japan, and rock stars fighting kaiju, and now they've been invited to the sending of Hamaba next week, and so things just kind of connected. So it is very possible that maybe what Kawakita wanted is actually going to happen, but not on the Japanese side, but from us. Sanai also, they came here specifically to talk about what they wanted to do to you. They're getting sponsored in Japan, but it'll be the fans here who actually put the pressure on Japan to do something about it. So you all have a very opportune chance to really make a difference in this genre by speaking out, by showing how passionate you are for the genre. That's a really good thing. And so well, 25 years later, I'm still doing this. I'm trying to become a bridge between this and now it's even a better chance for all that.
And what an honor, of course, to have that time to sit down with KingGhidorah and just pick his brain a little bit. And now he's living on through a lot of the things that you said he was an idea man, so his ideas are living on. Tell us a little, if we were to have the chance to get to know Anna there. Just what kind of a person was she?
She wasn't a celebrity type person. She was very down to earth. She loved people. She loved to act. And she was very good at it. That's what she did professionally for most of her life. The picture you saw of us sitting there, she's putting her head on my shoulder. She was just kind of cute. That was a very beautiful woman. She's a quarter Russian. She's 3/4 Japanese, quarter Russian, so she's got kind of a white complex. But she's a very, very kind person. And so she was always, the set that had been set by Kohai, the elderly people, so she's always there just to help. And so if someone was trying to pull out tea, she'd go and grab the tea from the crew people and do it herself, and not to give the crew any extra work to do. So she's always very kind to that sense. So we were able to sit down with her and talk to her for an hour. She'd sit down and talk with everybody. So we spent a lot of time on the bus, going to locations, waiting for a shot we should set up. We talked for minutes or hours sometimes. So she would have loved to come here. She wanted to come here. She couldn't have because of her schedule. But I think she's looking down on us right now and applauding that we're keeping this. Very wonderful person.
Yeah, it's just wonderful that you have some stories to tell. So we can see, what she created with that character. Now, I think unless you have anything else to add to that,
let's go.
Get some of you guys involved. This guy right here.
Hey, Scott, you mentioned growing up as a kid in California.
Right.
It looks like greedy. You think, but were you a Godzilla fan growing up at all? You go off movies or just peripheral knowledge? Or what?
Yeah, basically peripheral knowledge as a kid. I was a wannabe professional baseball player from ever since I was born. I was born. The day I was born, my father brought a glove to the hospital, and so I'm left-handed, but it was a right-handed glove, and so he quickly changed that, and so I wanted to be a baseball player. So I was more into fast things, rockets, jets, cars, and stuff like that. So I was not much of a drawer, but I could draw cars and stuff like that. I knew about Godzilla, and I think the first one I actually saw was Monster Zero. I think that's the first one I saw. Yeah, with Nick Adams. So I knew that, and I thought, I've seen King Kong, so I understood that, I liked that, but I think I grew into it. I didn't know nothing about Ultraman until I went to Japan. But so I know a little bit about it, but it wasn't that I was a huge fan, but I did like the idea of smashing things. So I thought it was pretty cool as a kid, because I loved that. I'd always make model planes or model cars, and I'd shoot with my BB gun. So I had a lot of time fun doing that. We, in Southern California, they have a lot of rattlesnakes and tarantulas and stuff, but we had this little area that was all blocked off, and we'd get out back with our bicycles, and it was kind of like, you could set up all kinds of stuff, and we'd always destroy it. And so I think it was, foresight that I was going to sooner or later be connected to Godzilla somehow. So, but now I love it a lot, and then more than that, I come back to GFest. I don't go to other cons for two reasons. I don't think it's worth my time. I think it's more of a mechanical thing where they just sign autographs and get everybody out of the way. Here it's more family oriented. They have more children to come here. I got kids who light up when they see me, and I love that. And a lot of people who are just very warm. When I see the same faces and new faces every year, and that's what I love. That's why I come back. I make the time. I've gone back to school. I've gone back to teaching school, and I'd still be grading tests right now in Japan. But I put a clause in my contract that says you got to let me have 2 weeks off in July, or I'm not going to do it. And so that's why.
Scott here. You know, he is a staple of it. He would not be G-Fest without him. Who else has a question? Guy right here.
Okay, so Mike, I have a question about your experience at Neos.
Okay.
So, what was it really like, and how did this really feel to, through a technicality, I suppose, to be an Ultraman host for Human Disguise?
That Ultraman happened very quickly. It actually was connected to G-Fest. One of the, what's his name, Kitaoka. There's a stuntman named Kitaoka who came in 2000. It was it Burbank, or it was at the Roosevelt in Hollywood. They had it there that year, and they had about 10 guests coming. He was one of them. And we hit it off. If you know anything about the Roosevelt Hotel, it's haunted. It has the ghost of Marilyn Monroe's there and some other people. And so this is funny. Sorry, I have to say this real quick, but he's a stuntman. He does all these things. He runs through bombs and stuff. He's really good at karate. He does all the in 2000 when he was standing on stage when he finished his set, he jumped off the table, did a flip onto the ground, and sort of went, "Wow, great!" He said, "I have a better story for you." The night before, we were with actually a couple of the guests, people, fans here. We went to take a picture of the beer that Marilyn Monroe used that was in the basement. We went to take a picture. It was one of those throwaway cameras. And so all you did was, wind it and click, and he winded it and it wouldn't click. And he winded it and wouldn't click. And said, "There's going to be something going on. There's going to be a post or something." And when they clicked it again, the film fell out of the bottom of the camera. And so he's going nuts. He's like, "There's a ghost, that's Marilyn Monroe's ghost," or something like that. So I was just teasing him about it. But that night, he stayed in my room. He wouldn't have to go home. He wouldn't go back to his own room. And I said, "Man, the guy was all these bombs around him. He's a stuntman. I was always scared of a little ghost, And so after he did that great flip on the table, I said, that's great. I said, "I have a better story for you." And so I tease him about that now. But because of him and the connection we had, he introduced me to the director of Ultraman Nails. And it was they were supposed to have a bigger budget. They got short very quickly. I was actually probably twice as much shooting time I actually had to cut out a lot. But I was actually fighting myself as a human. I was fighting another guy with blonde hair. We just found some guy and we just showed the back of him, punch him, and then they showed me hit like this and stuff. And so they had a lot more scenes than actually in the original, but they cut it all out. And I was a Men in Black, which I liked. Men in Black was not out yet. I think it came out the same year too, so I was the original Men in Black before the Men in Black, possibly. It's about the same time. And then changing into Ultraman 721, which makes me the son of Ultra 7, who's my father, who's in the son of Ultra 7. So you're my father, so I could have like Darth Vader, which is kind of cool. It was very quick. I think they only had 3 weeks of filming that whole thing, and it went by very quick. Doing Ultraman, though, I've always loved Superman, Christopher Reeve, Superman. Those movies, I love those movies as a kid. And getting to play a Japanese Superman was just kind of cool to me. And in Godzilla vs. KingGhidorah, I basically turned into that big KingGhidorah. I picked Godzilla up, throw him in the ocean, save the world. And Ultraman Nails, I saved the world again from aliens. And so in that sense, it's very cool. I would like to have another part, if there's anything I could do with that. I think they didn't have a suit my size. They didn't have a budget to make a suit. So in Ultraman Nails, when I had this, transform or whatever I say, they dug a small hole that I had to step in so that I'd be the same size as the stuntman when he turned it back to me. And so it was kind of funny, but I wish I had a suit. I have the head of Godzilla, my emulated character, but I wanted to have an Ultraman suit. I don't know if that answered your question, but I enjoyed it a lot. It was because of the connections I had that I got that. And they actually have my voice in there, and then they've done pieces of my voice as well for some reason. So you see, some squeaky voice and then my voice, and squeaky voice, my voice. And so I don't know who they're using, but they're squeaky people.
Got a couple minutes for a couple more questions out there or comments.
In the back, yeah.
Yeah, in sci-fi movies, usually androids are always portrayed as having no emotions. But M11 seems to enjoy himself as a bad guy or a good guy. Did you think he enjoyed his job? Did M11 get a kick out of what he did?
I think he's from the 23rd century, so if you compare him to Schwarzenegger and Terminator, he's a lot farther advanced. And so they told me that, and they didn't talk about Schwarzenegger because again, Terminator was coming out or was just out or something at the time. but they wanted something that was a android, but at the same time had a human feelings and stuff as well. So I think he enjoyed running after the Jeep. I don't think he minded getting burned in the way I might be burned. But M11 didn't mind too much, and he kind of enjoyed stopping the Jeep and all the bad stuff. I think he really liked it. So they left it up to me with my face expressions. The one I really get shy about is when what's his name, the Toyohara, when he's in his house, he's just taking a shower, and he's gonna, so I'll be out in a minute, and all of a sudden I come out of the window and come out, and I didn't really like that one, but they liked it for some reason, so they used that one. A little bit about that scene, they put me on piano wires, and if you do it, you raise you up and do it once or twice is okay. The third time, they become very brittle, and they usually break, so they have to put another piece of piano line. So, well, I think we can have it one more time. They put me on the window, go, and so M11 wasn't happy then, and either was me.
You can say something about M11 is, you know, if you put your mix CDs in his head, he also doubles as a CD player.
I love Bon Jovi, so I put him in over there.
Yeah, he'll start singing for you. Maybe one more. Right over here.
I may have missed this earlier, but I'm curious how your role in the Godzilla movie came about.
Yes, I mentioned it a little bit. I'll mention it one more time. There's a program, a radio program called the Pangea Club. They're trying to bring the world together, the 7 continents, bring it together again through radio. And so we were calling different places all over the world live to talk to people from all over the world. And Kazuki Omori, the director of the Godzilla movie I was in, was one of the main celebrities on this radio program. I was supposed to go on the program to find translators who could translate over radio. What we found out was there are a lot of people who can translate, but they're not funny. In radio or TV, you want someone who can, you know, crack a joke and make people look good. And so they would directly translate across and really fall asleep. And so it wasn't fun. And so they said, why don't you do it? I said, why don't I do it? And so that program was Monday through Friday. I was on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, but I was on for every night for about 1 month until we found other people who could be translators and make it a little bit funnier. And so that started there. Omori liked me. We had people like John Ford, the famous director on the program. What's his name? Sho Kosugi, who's a famous ninja. His son was in Final Wars, and what's his name? Michael Douglas, he was on the radio program. So I found a number of people. I had a friend who worked at Paramount. His name was A.C. Lyles. He has a star. If you want to look up A.C. Lyles sometime, he's the guy, he's the longest living producer in history on any movie studio, but he started working at 11 years old at Paramount, and he died at 96, still working there. And he's the longest living producer alive, and passed away, but so he worked there 85 years. He's the guy who found Clint Eastwood, and at his wedding, Ronald Reagan and who's a famous gangster guy, Jimmy Cagney. Yeah, those two were his best man at his wedding. So you can understand this. It was the guy that did the director that did 10 Commandments. The Mills. They were talking, you said this area here is going to open up. They were talking about Hollywood. So this area is really going to open up in the future. You should buy some land here. And this is when he was a kid. So he worked hard to save for a piece of land. He bought it for like $20,000, which in the day was a lot. He was paying it off over the years. Before he passed away, he sold the house for $5.5 million. And so, yeah, and so he was there at the time that Hollywood still was just a glimmer of what it was. And so he introduced a lot of people to me in the industry, and Omori liked that. We got along really well, and he wanted some foreigners in this movie who were famous possibly, but in my case, who could run really well. I think that was part of it. So that's how it all connected together.
And Scott's definitely going to be around this, for the rest of the day if you have any questions. My name is Nick Adam Pulick. Check me out on YouTube, The Monster Report. And I'd like to thank my guest here, Mr. Robert Scott.